Right. Look at all these people. I can see you all now that I have internet.
Does anyone have any questions while I'm just letting people in and we get rolling? Does anyone have any questions about like the homework or anything that we talked about yesterday?
No questions, huh? Everybody did their homework. You have your list of natural deadlines. All right.
Tina and Dan, you guys have a question?
Just a small one. So when we were going over the list of, personal rhythms, we were writing out, the things we do like personally that we could create, for example, a deadline around. And we noticed that some of the things we were coming up with aren't really feasible reasons for a deadline. Like, walking the dogs, we do that every single day. I'm not sure how that would be a deadline, but if we did, for example, like and once a month we take the dogs to the beach at the south end of the island and it's a family thing, maybe that could be a deadline. So what do you think would be the line between something that's
They're
feasible, not
good
feasible?
question. Good question. And this is it's tough for people that overthink it, which is most of us. Uh if Laurel says, "Hey, every day from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. I walk my dog and then I come back, get a cup of coffee and check my emails." So if you email me between 6 and 8 a.m. on this day while I'm walking my dogs, I'll come back and I'll do my best to respond to you or answer your questions.
It's
Okay.
perfect.
It's not the big thing about this whole thing is so many people in your position have been brainwashed into like internet marketing stuff. It's like high pressure, bullet points, all that stuff. It works. But think about for those of you that are fans of Elon Musk, just as an example, if he says, "Hey, I every morning I shoot off rockets for 3 hours," and I tell you what, once I shoot off rockets, I'm in the zone. So if you email me personally before I go shoot rockets at 6 a.m., I'll make sure you get one of the first Cybertrucks. That will work. Somebody that was thinking about buying a Cybertruck eventually anyway, all we did was we gave them a reason. There's no pressure, there's no pushing, there's nothing. We're just giving them a reason if they're sitting on the fence to jump over the fence now instead of later.
I
So
really, oh, sorry for interrupting, but I really like that because it fits in very well with the idea of having people come and message us, which is one of the things we've been trying to get people to do. So
I don't need
that's
anything else to
perfect.
ask people to
and
message us saying so.
you'll learn.
That's
I'll show you guys tomorrow too, and I apologize for cutting you off there. I'll show you guys tomorrow. So you're gonna learn 6 campaigns over the next 2 days, I believe. Uh, and you can stack them on top of each other. So if you say, "Hey, natural deadline, here's the reason why," it doesn't have to be compelling. It doesn't have to benefit them. Uh, because what the very first thing we're doing is we're trying to uh, create a deadline. There's a number of people in your audience and every audience here that is sitting there going, "Okay, I'm probably going to do that tomorrow." Then tomorrow rolls around. They're like, "Oh, yeah, I forgot to sign up for Laurel's program, but I'll do that this weekend when I have time. Oh, yeah, I got to reschedule that call." And all they need is a very natural, non intrusive, low pressure reason to actually do the thing that they've been thinking about doing. That's the lowest hanging fruit is the potential buyers that keep kicking the can down the road because they're busy or distracted or they're unsure if it's a good fit for them right now. That's the very first bucket. I'd go to the good fit nows. So it's a good question, but to circle back around, and we'll build these campaigns together. If you give very precise instructions, which is something Laurel's been getting better and better at, and somebody does not follow them exactly. So if you see my stuff, I have a direct mail newsletter, and I'll say, if you want this, email. I don't have a link or a QR code because I want to find people that go out of their way with a high level of intent and follow instructions. So I say, email this email address with subject line, boom. And if they email with anything other than that subject line, it actually opens up another campaign, which is called the second chance campaign, which is basically, hey, you didn't follow instructions. So I'm not going to enroll people that can't follow instructions. You won't get results. It reflects poorly on me, et cetera, et cetera. That's actually another campaign where we say, hey, there's a red flag in your behavior. Here's an opportunity to fix that behavior. So that's a second chance campaign, which we'll learn tomorrow. You ready, Laurel? You want me to dive right into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. So fire hose to the face. But we will workshop through this stuff. 3 campaigns today I'm going to go over. One I'm going to deep dive on, and then if time allows, we can go deeper on the other 2. Let me share my screen here now that I can do this. Okay. So the campaigns we're discussing today, these are 3 that work really well together. You can also use them independently, and you can use them at different stages, meaning you can use them to get a prospect to become a client. You can get the first time, you can use them to get a first time buyer to become a repeat buyer. You can use them to get a repeat buyer to become a raving fan and referrer. Okay. So each of those looks different, but they follow the same general structure. The first is the silver bullet. This is, okay, shit hit the fan. I got a huge bill, hospital bill, IRS bill, huge unexpected expense, gun to my head. That's where I would personally say start with the silver bullet. You can use a silver bullet anytime. But like you guys ever seen any movies or TV shows about werewolves or vampires or anything like that? They always only have one silver bullet. They're like, oh, we got this gun. We only got one silver bullet, so don't waste it on a human or some shit like that. Right? And so we want to think about the silver bullets as being limited, meaning you can't just fire them off willy-nilly, because they will lose effectiveness, and they can be time intensive. The dollar per hour should be great, but they're time intensive. The Be Helpful campaign. This is the one that you could run every single day if you wanted to. This is the ultimate, in my opinion, you're putting out goodwill and you're making sales. I would build as many Be Helpful campaigns as possible. And this is the only one that can be automated and evergreen. So we're going to spend a lot of time on that one because I think it's going to be the most useful to everybody here. And then the second chance campaign. So we're actually going to go over that today, which is at each step, instead of accepting shitty behavior, you just pointed out. And Laurel's getting better at this too. You guys notice how it's like, hey, I'd love to answer this question, but you didn't ask it in the right place. So that's on you. All she's saying is, I shouldn't answer this because you're not paying attention. However, here's another chance to do it right so that you get what you want. So it's a second chance campaign. You can run them internally, and I'll show you how we've used them. We have not covered in how to turn in homework. And everything I'm sharing with you today below this highlight is in the R3 book that Laurel sent you yesterday. All right, so I'm going to walk you through fire hose to the face, the 3 campaigns. We're just going to go campaign 1, campaign 2, campaign 3, so you can get start wrapping your brain around it, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about each one, and we'll start workshopping. Okay. Let me know in the chat if you're good to go. You guys are ready. All right. Let's do this. All right. The Silver Bullet campaign. This is, in my opinion, the ultimate transition. If you're going, okay, I do a lot of one-on-one. and I'd like to get more leverage, we have to make this leap, right? And you learn really quick that a group program is not, if you've ever gone from selling one-on-one and delivering one-on-one and you say, oh, I'll just do this as a group, that leap is much larger than people realize until they're doing it. It's much harder. It's a different sales process. It's a different deliverable. It's a different level of service. It's all that stuff. So the silver bullet does a few things. One, it creates a smoother transition from one-to-one to one-to-many. Two, it puts out a lot of goodwill. Three, are you familiar? And this is a important concept with chauffeur knowledge versus plank knowledge. All right, I got some nods and some head shakes. So Max Planck was a Nobel Prize winning physicist, and you can Google this. You could chauffeur versus plank knowledge. And Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett tell this story. He won a Nobel Prize, and he used to drive around in his limo and give these speeches to scientists and PhD students. And he was brilliant. And after going city to city, state to state, with the same chauffeur, the chauffeur says, I've seen this speech so many times. I bet I could deliver it as good as you do. So Max Planck goes, okay. Next city they go into, the chauffeur gives the presentation and knocks it out of the park. And then somebody in the audience, remember, these are scientists and PhD students, and somebody in the audience goes, hey, I have a question about some complicated physics thing. And the chauffeur goes, that's a great question. I'm going to have to defer to my chauffeur. And then they switched places, and Max Planck came back and answered the question. Right? The point is, anybody can give a good presentation. You could do the best webinar ever, and it'll take a 15-year-old kid in the Philippines 20 minutes to rip it off and do it just as good or better than you. And the world is figuring that out. Consumers are figuring that out. So most people now, and this is why Laurel's strategy is so effective, most buyers are waiting until they have an opportunity to see you answer the next question. Are you a chauffeur who's just repeating some shit you heard before? Or are you Max Planck, who knows how to solve problems? And the only way they can tell is if they have an opportunity to see you engage. And that's why Laurel and I do so much Q&A. That demonstrates that we're not just repeating some scripted thing. So most of your audience is going, okay, this sounds good, but so does the last person I bought from, and they were full of shit. You got to remember that. You got to have a high level of empathy for your consumer. But I said all the right things. Cool. So did everyone else, because they got ChatGPT. So it's how you respond that tells people, okay, you know how to respond. You understand my situation. Your response kind of jives with my style. Like, those are all the things that we want to highlight. And the silver bullet does that about as fast as you could possibly do that. And it's controlled. So you don't got to sit around all day and answer questions. So here's how it goes. Yeah. Now, I'm going to skip this part. We'll come back to it. But this is step 1 and step 2. I call it the goodwill bribe. But this is just a value bomb. If you're from Laurel's world, it's a lead magnet. It's a value bomb. It's all that stuff. So I'm not going to go spend too much time on that, because you should already know how to do that. Refer back to the $7 training. You can Google a lead magnet. Now, there's a very specific way that Laurel teaches it that I'm a fan of. Yeah, so there's just a lead magnet.
I think we just accidentally announced the name of my new book. That's already written.
What, this one?
Yep.
Kiss My ROAS. Yeah. So now you guys know inside baseball, insider trading. So example of a goodwill bribe, Laurel will say, hey, take this action and I'll give you my book. And we're having them take an action that leads to a conversation. So then she delivers the book, right? Step 2, deliver the thing you promised. And then here, you should have a process, right? So you do your lead magnet or value bomb, and then you have your process, which is your DM, your messenger conversations, whatever it is. Carry that through. Like, just run your normal process. Now, when it comes time to run this campaign, this is what it would look like. Now, remember, this whole time we're collecting leads. However you're collecting leads, if you're using Laurel strategy, they're probably going to be mostly DMs and private messages. Could be emails. Could be however your LinkedIn connections, however you're doing it. When you say, all right, this thing's coming up, I'm ready to build this campaign, the very first thing you do for the silver bullet is re-engage everybody that did not buy from your regular process, whatever that is. And we can get more specific in a minute. I would send out a 9-word email. And the 9-word email was invented by a friend of mine, Dean Jackson. And it's a very, very simple concept. His was in real estate. So he would teach people to just email all the leads and say, are you still looking for a house in Arizona? 9 words. And that's it. Now, Laurel might say, have you built out your $5 ad ecosystem? Have you set up your first ad? It's a very simple question. Doesn't have to be exactly 9 words. That's just to remember to keep it as brief as possible. Short, feel personal, and appear to be expecting a response. The human brain. Do you ever get in a text conversation with someone and you're the kind of person that likes to respond to people, not leave them hanging, and then they're also the kind of person that likes to respond? And so, like, to be polite, this conversation goes on forever because nobody wants to ghost anybody else. That's a very human response. So when you send a question like this, hey, have you done this yet? The less salesy, the more the natural human instinct is like, to be a respectful human, I want to not ghost this person. The more salesy this is, the more they feel good about not responding. So, hey, now if you want a Chris Voss tip, and I think most people know here, Chris Voss wrote the book Never Split the Difference. He's a very good friend of mine. He would say, have you given up on building your $5 ad system yet? Because when one, it challenges them. Their identity is not being quitters. And 2, anytime you can give them the ability to say no up front, you give them a feeling of control. So that's a new addition. I haven't updated this yet. I would try to make this so that their response is no. Have you given up on launching your first ad? No, I haven't. And if you remember your sales training, if you guys have been through sales training, what you want to do, or what amateurs do, is they tell you to get on the phone or on Zoom and get the prospect saying yes, yes, yes. And what's happening is you've built a fear, and you guys have been on the other end of this, I'm sure, where now the prospect wants to say no, but they're afraid to. So if you can ask the very first question in a way that they say no, and you're like, cool, right? It's very Pavlovian. They told you no, and you said totally cool. Now they're safe. So little nuance there. Don't worry too much about it. But if you could frame this as give them permission to say no. And if they get the no out of the way quickly, they now feel like they're in control and they're making their own decision instead of trying not to disappoint you.
That is such a really great nugget right there, because I think also for people who are having issues, with people ghosting them or like not responding, I think that plays so much into the ego of entrepreneurs, like especially for those who are dealing with, service providers and stuff like that, real estate agents are so good at like, having huge egos. Like, I don't know. Whenever you said that, Nick, I was just like, oh my God, that is such a great nugget right there, because it just plays right into that ego. It's like, why would you not respond to that? Like, my ego would not let me to let that message just sit. I'd be like,
Yep.
I've been giving up on shit.
Yep.
Give me the link.
So when you write these campaigns, sit on them for go for a walk and come back, and then just think, can I frame this in a way where they are compelled to say, no, I haven't given up. Cool. Prove it. And that's all internal pressure by them, not external pressure by you. Very different things. You guys have all felt versions of this. You ever sat around and been like, God, I got to get to the store and buy that thing? Right? That's an internal pressure. And that's what we're trying to create in our prospects. When the pressure is internal, there's no buyer's remorse. When the pressure is external, there is buyer's remorse. And the greater pressure you put on somebody else, the greater their buyer's remorse is after they purchase. And then you got to overcome buyer's remorse after the purchase, which is the whole distraction from delivering the product. Okay. So have you built out? Are you still looking for? And my favorite is, have you given up on thing? So obviously your goodwill bribe or your value bomb should be specific enough that you can ask a good question. If they don't respond, this is a big one, leave them alone. Just leave them alone. It's fine. You asked a very simple question that challenged probably their ego. And if they didn't respond, they're not responding to anything. Leave them alone, recapture your bandwidth, move on. If they do respond, then we go into what is the silver bullet. Okay. Now, the silver bullet is about making this whole exchange an HFM, which is a holy fuck moment, where people engage with you and they're like, holy fuck, I wasn't expecting that. So that's always what we're trying to do in the simplest way possible. And we do it through the silver bullet, which shows them you're not a robot. That's a legitimate concern. Is this an automation? Is this AI? Again, they're trying to discern, is this person legitimate or are they just using internet tools to sound smart? So this is how we break through that. And
I'm gonna add like a little nugget there that I learned recently. Alex Harmozy just did this because you were just saying this, like, prove that you're not a robot. In his SMS marketing, because I know some people are using SMS, he literally bought his entire sales team iPhones, because now people, when they get a text from a green, for those who have Android iPhone, like, people assume that if it's a green message, it's coming from an AI bot. And so he bought his entire team iPhones so that they could manually market to his audience so that they would know there's a real person on the other end of it.
Yeah. And there's some CRMs like Go High Level. I know you can actually install iMessage for the same effect. So, but that just shows you that, like, consumers are waiting longer and longer to buy because they need you to demonstrate that you're a real human. Like, you're not spending $20 a month on ChatGPT and charging them $1,000 to plug in your stuff to ChatGPT. So, great example. And you'll see how this comes together. So, okay, you send out your 9-word email. If they don't respond, just let them go. If they do, they might say, well, I've done a few ads, not the entire thing yet, or whatever. If they respond, we want to show that you are not a robot. Okay, so in this example, you'll see a few ads is better than the one that most marketers have running. This is one of the toughest times to stay consistent because of election season. Ads are a bit more expensive. Very, very simple. But I'm saying this comment here is just saying, hey, look, I heard what you said. This is not a generic response. This is one of the toughest times to stay consistent because of election season, the distractions. You know, you can talk about politics, natural deadline, whatever, but you're just saying that this is clearly not evergreen. Like, this is I'm talking to you and I'm also taking live fire, and you can tell by the way that I respond that I'm taking live fire with you. Ads are a bit more expensive. That shows that you have a pulse, that you're a human. And then the second sentence, or I wouldn't do full paragraphs, very, very short communication here. Are you looking to get those ads up? Even with the higher cost of ads, you could still run the entire thing for $300, $500 a month. And I would probably add and probably get really good results. So the only point of this is to slow down. If you imagine, it's another thing I picked up from Chris Voss. these campaigns, I've heard people say, they send me really long emails, and I tell them, don't ever send me an email that long ever again. And they're like, well, somebody told me this recently. I was taught that if you have to respond to my email, that my email was not complete enough. What's happening is humans find a million ways to do really dumb things and try to make them sound smart. It's like thing we're the best at. And in this case, if you say, I want to send you such a powerful email that you don't have to respond to me, a few things are happening. You're saying, I want to cut off the conversation. And the whole point of everything you're doing is to create conversations. You're saying, I want you to make a decision without ever talking to me, which is the worst thing you can do in sales, is go make a decision without ever talking, to make a decision on your own with the limited information you have. So in all of our communications and campaigns, think of it like a ping pong match. You want to serve it up so it's really, really easy for them to serve it back to you or hit it back to you. And then you hit it back to them, and you try to give them as much of an opportunity as possible to hit it back to you. And now you're in a dialogue. So that's how I think about these campaigns. Okay. So that's why this is really simple. Just another open-ended question. Are you interested in this? Here's some cool things, or here's some perspective that might help you say yes.
So I'm going to answer a quick question that's going on the conversation in the chat. I just want you guys to understand, like, this doesn't have to be email. Like, I don't use email at all. I do this through the DM conversations. This framework, these CASHNOW campaigns, can be done anywhere. It could be done in the DMs. It could be done in email. It could be however you communicate with your audience. It could be done through Telegram. It could be done through however you're communicating. It doesn't have to be email. Just want to make that clear.
Yeah, it's a good point. And these are all agnostic. You do it on the freaking phone, voice message. It's all what's important is that we're serving it up and letting them hit it back. Okay. And okay, we'll go over all this. I'm going over this really quick. Now, step 5 is the brain dump. And this doesn't happen every time. It happens, for me, in my experience, maybe 1 out of every 15 or 20 people. What we're hoping for is a brain dump or a love letter. Okay. So when you say, hey, are you still trying to lose weight? And they're like, or have you given up on losing weight? And they're like, no, but it's been really hard. And, my husband doesn't really support me. And also I got this new job, and you get this huge brain dump. What they're doing is they are saying, here is everything you need to know about me. I'm ready to buy. Just acknowledge that you hear me. So that's like and I'm sure you've seen it and probably done it, where if the pain is high enough and somebody says, hey, do you need help setting up your computer? And then you could just say yes, but you dump a whole 5 paragraphs about all the things that are pissing you off. That person's ready to buy right now. And all they're doing, again, is they're giving you everything you need to prove that you listen to them. All you have to do is demonstrate, I hear you. I've been where you're at. I've helped people just like you, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so that's what you're hoping for, is you're hoping for a brain dump. If you don't get one, ask more open-ended questions. And that question, you're looking for a pain point. If they never tell you a pain point, then they're not ready to buy. Right. And you see it all the time. You can practice it in public or private. You just go ask somebody, hey, have you given up on XYZ? Are you still trying to do ABC? And the people that are in a lot of pain that need somebody to listen to will dump their whole life story on you. So once you get a version of the brain dump, you're going to respond with the offer. And this is how we do the silver bullet. It's clear, simple, custom, and it must have a reason you're doing it. And we can use the natural deadlines to do that. So for example, they may brain dump, hey, have you given up on losing weight? No, but my husband or my wife and my kids and my schedule. And it's so frustrating. And it's been ever since, yada, yada, yada. And I just wish this and that. And they're just brain dump out. And I would say, okay, I tell you what, I have a little bit of time this week or next month or whenever, but I have a little bit of time this weekend. And here's what I'll do. I can send you over 5 questions. It'll take me a couple minutes. And then you answer these questions. You send me back answers. It'll take you 3 to 5 minutes. And I will take the time and I will voice over or whatever your superpower is, wherever you can demonstrate that you have plank knowledge. So what I do is I send them 5 questions. They respond. And then I loom video over it. I actually type out the answers and I talk. So you can hear my logic, my reasoning, my evidence, because I believe that demonstrates what I do best. You might be different, right? But I'm going to send back a loom video and I'm actually going to reason through it right out loud and let the person on the other end listen to me reason through it, because the way I reason through things is generally my best selling point. You may be different. If it's how concise and professional you are, then you might prepare it ahead of time and then do a really precise professional video. So you want to lean into people, or you want to lean into your unique disposition. Okay. So 5 questions. Now, and we'll show you what this looks like. 1 or 2 questions are designed to help them realize how much they don't know. We want them to think about things they've never thought about before. So if you ever talk to any of your clients and they're like, nobody ever taught me that before. How is nobody teaching this? Why is this not common knowledge? We get people all the time like, I'm 55 years old and this is the first time I'm hearing of this. It's those things that we want to bubble up. So Laurel might say, and it's also things your competitors never talk about. So if I was an accounting firm, I might say, are you utilizing the Augusta loophole? No, I want them to go, no, what the hell is that? Because what we did was we just discredited their own accountant because their accountant never told them about it. If you're Laurel, you might say, how big is your invisible list? And they go, what the hell is an invisible list? Why is nobody? And they'll go Google it. But now we're saying the conclusion they come to is, God, this person knows some shit that nobody else ever told me about. So you want 1 or 2 questions that just help them realize what they don't know. You're not telling them they're dumb by telling them what they don't know. You just ask them questions to help them realize that they never even knew this was a question they should be asking. 1 or 2 questions that are designed specifically to bucket them. So if you sell B2B, it's usually easier because you can straight up say, like on Laurel stuff and on my stuff, we can straight up say, what's your revenue? And that tells us whether or not they're a good fit pretty quickly. All right. Now, if you're selling fat loss, then how much money do you make is not an appropriate question to ask. Right? It doesn't fit. So you might say, what have you tried in the past? What's the most recent thing you paid for in regard or invested in? How have you invested in your health and fitness? And you see like, well, I'm a member of Equinox and Lifetime and yada, yada, yada. And you go, oh, okay, well, this person clearly has money, so they can afford it. So you may have to get creative, but we're trying to say, okay, answer these questions. And the purpose of these questions for you is to bucket them. Are they a good prospect or not? And the more straightforward you are, the more they're going to be able to tell that you're bucketing them. So unless you're selling a money for money offer, you got to be a little bit creative there. And then 1 or 2 questions that allow you to showcase or demonstrate your competence. So there are things, it's called the flash roll, where have you got, raise your hand if your camera's on, if you've seen Old School. Yeah, remember when Will Ferrell's like, I don't know what happened, I blacked out. That's a flash roll. It's like when you get in your zone of competence and you get into flow and you just stream of consciousness and everybody goes, whoa, I don't know what the hell you just said, but you are clearly passionate about it and you know it better than I do. We're trying to put ourselves in a position to demonstrate that flash roll. So you got to think, where is it that, man, if I could just get anybody to bring up this topic or ask this question, I'll blow them away with my answer. We're trying to engineer that. So we might say, Laurel might say, how strong is your, can you break down your, how much your retargeting ads have increased your return on ad spend? And they're like, well, I don't know what to do. So in the response, if she's doing a Loom video, she might pull up Ads Manager and be like, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? We're just trying to, if Laurel sends this out, we're trying to put her in a position to demonstrate, not tell people she's smart, but demonstrate in real time. Wow, she knows this. The B message is an appropriate flash roll makes people hear. I've seen this 1,000 times. Don't you worry. I know exactly what to do. And as long as you're with me, you'll be fine. So that's what they hear, regardless of what you say. We're not trying to teach them something. We're going so far beyond their competence that they won't be able to keep up. But that's not the point. The point is to demonstrate, like, shit, what would I pay to get Laurel's eyeballs on my ads? So that's where a lot of people struggle, is they flash roll at the wrong time. We're engineering flash roll here. So,
and the way that I do it too with these 5 questions, is, and this is if you're struggling to like kind of make that connection in the messenger conversation from messenger to phone call, it's because you're not doing this part correctly. And so the way that I like to do it is, whenever I'm developing those questions, I'm like, what information do I need to get from this person in order to literally diagnose what's going on and be able to send them a Loom back to give them certainty that I can actually solve this problem with proof? Does that make sense? And so I think whenever you guys are making that transition, you're not asking the right questions that you need as an expert in order to, everyone sitting in this room should be probably an expert in something, right? And it's like one of those things where the more that you can showcase your expertise, like what are those questions that they need to answer so that like you could answer that stuff in your sleep. That's just the way that I rig the game with these questions, so that anytime I'm responding, I can be at my best to where that person, I give them certainty that I literally have the answer, and it's going to be, and this is what's important, and it's going to be different this time because you have to keep in mind that most of the people that you're talking to have already tried solving that problem with probably someone else.
yeah. So we can get super advanced with this, which we'll do later. You have to get the reps down. So I'll give you an example. If you guys want to see an example of a version of a silver bullet that you can study. All right. And we made money on this. Laurel's birthday. Laurel's birthday was the natural deadline. So this is a natural deadline. It's a compelling reason why. I said a million times during this campaign, I would only do this for Laurel, but it's her birthday, so I'm taking the time. So you see the reason why. Why would you spend the time to do this for us? Because, it's Laurel's birthday, and just so you guys know, I'd only do it for her. Okay. That feels like a very real thing, and it is a real thing. So for Laurel's birthday, I said, here's the deal. If you follow these steps, I'll do everything in my power over this 2-day stretch, 48 hours, to respond for Laurel's birthday. So you can see here, here's the question, here's my answer, here's the video of me talking over my answer. So I will send you guys this link. You could study this, but this is a silver bullet. I just posted them publicly so that other people could also see me demonstrate whether I'm competent or not. So if you can also do it like this, where 12 people followed the steps. 12 people got videos, and it's archived so people can see it in the future. And we made, what did we make on the first round of Success Circle? We probably made 35 grand. Say half of the first success circle enrollment. So it's 35,000. It took me maybe 2 hours to set up the whole thing. And we're looking at $35,000 in sales. Okay. So you can, I'll drop this link so you guys can study it. Don't go too far down the rabbit hole right now.
Yeah, actually, it was 75,000. I remember because I joked about it. I was like, "Hey, we just made 75,000 in 10 minutes. Learn how."
So it's
That's the
time
only reason I
intensive.
remember the number.
It's time intensive, but it'll convert almost as high as one-on-one calls, and it takes 5 minutes to do the response. I did 12 of them, so it took over an hour.
Yeah, that's why I don't have to do calls for LOL. People are like, "How do you sell Lean on Laurel without a call?" I'm like, this right here is exactly what I do right here.
All right. So let's keep going. I promise we'll come back to this. Just sit with a little bit of uncertainty for now. It's okay. So I send them the questions. They send the questions back. I respond. I might say, okay, this makes sense. Yeah, if you have an accountant, you should ask them about the Augusta loophole. If you have a personal trainer nutritionist, you should ask them this. I'm also trying to give them things that they can go ask their current provider that'll make their current provider look stupid. Because I know how competent, your competition, a lot of them are incompetent. So help your prospects recognize it. And then I'm going to tell them, I'm going to flash roll. I'm going to walk through it. I'm going to answer all these questions. And all I'm going to say is, and that's it. Hopefully that was helpful. If you need help with any of this stuff, just let me know. And you can tell them how. You can say, reply to this email, send me a DM, send me a text. Here's my phone number. I've done it a million different ways. They're all about the same. So whatever you prefer. But you just say, here's everything you need. Here's what to ask your current people. Here's what to ask your coaches. Here's where to look. Don't forget, yada, yada, yada. If you're in accounting or, if you're setting up business entities, you might say, hey, look, since you already live in Wyoming, you just register your entity and you'll get all the privacy benefits of a Wyoming entity. You might also say, I see you live in California, but you might want to consider a Wyoming entity. You could set one up through a registered agent, and there's a lot of privacy benefits to that. And so it's just things like that where if there's things that change state by state, I would make that one of these questions. They say, if you need help with any of that stuff or you need introductions to any of the people I mentioned above, just let me know. I'm happy to make the introductions or help you take the step. And that's it. All right. So in just a few minutes, you've been helpful in a way that feels very custom because it is very custom. You've been able to bucket or qualify your prospects. If you ask these questions, right, you should know enough about them to know whether or not they're a good fit. You've showcased your best abilities. So ask these questions and deliver them in a way that you show up best. Is it video? Is it audio? Is it written form? However you show up best is how I would do this, because you have an opportunity to put your best foot forward. And if you do this well, you discredit your competitors, because all these questions ideally are things they haven't answered before, or they've answered them, but the way that you respond is a response they've never heard of before. Like they've never considered that angle, or they've never thought to look there. So we've also discredited competitors, and that is why it's the silver bullet. All right. So we'll keep zooming on. We'll come back. The second campaign is the Be Helpful campaign. This is the one that you could run as many times as you want. I still wouldn't over exploit it, because it's worth putting extra time into making it thoughtful. Okay. Now, this one is the one that is the most dependent on your industry deadlines. Main reason being the natural deadlines that are not industry deadlines are already talked about a lot. And so what we're doing here is we're trying to hit these deadlines that get buried in the news because they're not relevant to everyone, but they're hyper relevant to your prospect, like Laurel's if they say, the Consumer Protection Act means that Wyoming entities will no longer be private, that's hyper relevant to anyone that set up a Wyoming entity for the privacy. But it's not news because most of the population doesn't have a Wyoming entity. If Facebook says, hey, look, on January 15th, we're no longer allowing pixels, right? That's mostly irrelevant for most of the planet, but it's incredibly relevant to anybody advertising on Facebook, especially if they're heavy on retargeting using pixel data. So the Be Helpful campaign creates natural urgency for the right people. It gives customers and prospects a look at what it's like on the other side. And this is really important for building internal pressure. It's like there's a few components to this, and I am teaching you the principles, so I apologize if that's not your jam. When you go to a restaurant or you go out for a nightclub, which I haven't done in like 10 years, nightclub one's got a line out the door. Nightclub two has nobody there. The human instinct is nightclub one must be better, right? So one, line out the door. Now, it's much harder with the internet business to demonstrate a line out the door. So line out the door. And then when they're standing in line, people are thinking, is it really worth standing in line? Like, what's even going on in there? Maybe I should just go home and, but then the door opens and you peek inside and you're like, oh, I'm waiting. Right? It's an internal pressure. I'm willing to wait in the cold because I peeked in there and I want to be in there. And that's what we're doing to Be Helpful campaign is we're cracking the door open. So everybody sitting on our list, it's like, maybe I should just hire someone else. I don't know. Yeah. They peek inside. They're like, nope, I want to be in there. So we're doing that with the Be Helpful campaign. We're just saying, hey, look, here's a peek inside. If you follow these steps and pay this money and do these things, then you can also be inside. Creates goodwill for everyone, which is the most important aspect of it. And you will get referrals from both buyers and non-buyers if you do this well. So all those people that'll never buy from you can still help you grow your business, especially if you run Be Helpful campaigns properly. Okay. So campaign setup, you already did the first part. Make a list of all natural deadlines. Keep working on your lists. They could be as absurd as you want them to be. And then it looks like this. Here's the template. Hey, this is the basic template. Hey, I just want to remind you that natural deadline is right around the corner in X weeks or months or days. And what we're doing starting yesterday is we're starting to help our premium clients prepare by doing XYZ. And I wanted to let you know, because it's come to my attention that none of our premium clients have ever done this before, which means there's a whole bunch of people like you out there that don't even know that you need to start preparing for this right now. So if you're this kind of person, I'm just sending you this text, email, DM, phone call, whatever it is, so that you are aware that now is a really good time to start thinking about X. If you need help with that, let me know. If not, totally cool. Just tell your existing provider or your partners or yourself that you got to start doing this now or you'll run out of time. And hopefully you'll save hundreds of thousands of dollars by doing so. Yep, that's it. What you've done by saying, this is what we're doing for our premium clients right now, and we started yesterday, and then telling them this is what you should do and this is where you look, you're demonstrating competence, and the right people go, shit, I wish I was one of those premium clients. And that's all it is, right? Now, some number of people reach out and say, hey, thank you for reminding me of this. My accountant didn't tell me. My trainer never told me. My ads person never brought this up. Like, they're not talking about preparing for this. So can you help me? And then you're just in a sales conversation. Yep. So that's a Be Helpful campaign. Here's an example from Laurel. Hey, just wanted to remind you that the Google Chrome's Pixel Apocalypse will have hit all digital marketing by the end of 2024. This week, we're starting to help our premium clients prepare by getting our video ads ecosystem running, set up and running with first-party integrations, because if we don't start now, we risk running out of time. Now, I want to send this email, letter, text, whatever it is, to remind you to get started on this before it's too late. No obligations, but if you want me to help you get it all done within the next 7 days, fill out the form and I'll be in touch ASAP. Right. So even if it's like, no, I don't need your help because I can't afford it, or I got all the time, or I already know how to do this. This is a high value. Holy shit. Thank you for letting me know. Goodwill, call to action. And so for all our natural deadlines, our industry rhythms, our business rhythms, our universal rhythms, and our personal, whatever ones I left out, we want to start thinking like this. This is the communication. So the Be Helpful campaign. It's helpful. It reminds them of something important. It has a natural urgency. It's not a fake countdown timer. We're saying this is out of our control. Google Chrome is doing it. We're just not going to roll over and do nothing about it. But this isn't we didn't create this deadline. You can't ask us to change it. We can't make exceptions to it. This is entirely out of our control. But if you're a premium client of ours, you're going to be 10 steps ahead. So huge advantage. And we're saying all that without talking about it. We're not saying sign up or you're going to be 10 steps behind. The right people will make that connection themselves, but it's an internal pressure, not an external pressure. So helpful and natural urgency. It prompts them to reach out for help. And most importantly, it shows them what it would be like if they were a premium client without telling it. We're just like accidentally opening the door and letting them peek in, but we're not shoving it down their throats. So if you get stuck on crafting these campaigns, look at your own behavior, and you can do some thought exercises. So if I said, let me pick on someone here. If I said, hey, Victor, here's the deal. I don't want you to do work for anybody else. So what I'm going to do is I want to take you on as a partner and give you half of all my revenue. And you're like, yeah, that's what I would love to do that. I care a lot about it. And let's say Victor had a really high level of buy-in for my mission. Then I would say, okay, so if that were the case, what would you have me start doing right now? You don't have to give me any dopamine or sell me anything, but what would you have me do if you have a huge buy-in into my company and you're super motivated for me to be successful? And you might say, I don't know. Well, I'd have you start setting this up. It's not sexy, but it's got to get done. I'd have you start doing this. Those are the things that make some of the best Be Helpful campaigns. Like, what would you do knowing that the New Year's around the corner? It's unconventional and people don't care because nobody cares. So it's exciting. What would you do for your best premium clients or partners? Those make the best Be Helpful campaigns. All right. So if you get stuck, you can default to that. You can always just look at, well, shit, what am I doing and why? Okay, well, if you're doing something that most of the industry is not because you know more than they do, then tell other people, this is what I'm doing. This is why. They're going to go, shit, I wish I was doing that. That's really smart. Well, if you were a premium client of mine, you would have started doing it last week when all my other clients did. So that's kind of the whole game there. And then the last one is the second chance campaign. All right. Now, at each step, you should have qualifiers and disqualifiers. And one of the issues that makes growing a business really, really hard is if you orient towards being nice. You just want to be nice to everyone. You want everyone to like you. There's no leadership there. There's no preeminence there. So I'll give you an example. Way back when I was building my nutrition company, somebody filled out an application. Name, Huggy Bear. First name was Huggy Bear. Last name, McNiff. Rest of the application, blank. So I emailed him and I said, hey, I see you on my calendar at like noon today. I'm not going to show up for that call. You half-assed this application, used a goofy name. I don't care. But generally speaking, if you can't complete this application, you're not going to complete this program. So love, respect, I'm just not taking the time. He emailed back and he said, holy shit, I didn't know anybody actually read those things. Can I please try it again? I said, sure, try it again. He came back. Turns out his legal name is Huggy Bear McNiff. I didn't know that at first. So it was still Huggy Bear McNiff. But then his application was like love letters. It was like, I'm really passionate about this because this. You know, I went through a divorce. I legally changed my name to Huggy Bear McNiff because I thought I was going to die, but then I didn't die. So now I got this goofy name. And, you know, but this little big long love letter. He became one of our best clients. He ended up becoming a salesperson for my company. I sold the company. He is one of the top employees they still have. And that is the byproduct of a second chance campaign. Hey, I'm not getting on this. If the next step is a call, look, I don't think we should get on the call because of all these red flags. I don't think we should do this. I'm not going to let you enroll because of all these red flags. You just tell them the red flags and you open up the opportunity for them to fix it. Chris Voss calls it turning zombies into humans. You just give them an opportunity. You say, hey, we don't fuck around like, excuse my language, but we don't fuck around like that here. So I can't let you in. And a percentage of people go, whoa, whoa, whoa. I love that you're that serious. I didn't know there was anybody that was that serious about this stuff. I apologize. I'm in. And that'll become one of your best clients forever and one of your best referrers. Maybe 1 out of every 10 or 20. And when you think about how many conversations you have, 1 out of 20 is pretty significant. Right? So we're taking zeros, people that have too many red flags, and we're turning just a few of them into great clients. And because of the way that you frame shift them up front, they're generally great referrers as well. And they bring in people, and the warning that you told them, they tell people before they come in. So every step, you got your prospect. Are they a good fit to even talk to? And if you're just starting, yes, everybody's somebody to talk to. And then you talk to them and they enroll. And then if you have a back end, they have to go from your front end to your back end, right? Each one of those is an opportunity where you go, hey, yeah, I don't think this person, like Laurel and I might be like, I'm not sure this person's a great fit for the success circle for this reason, this reason, this reason. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you, if nothing else, I'm trying to give you constructive feedback. I'm going to say, look, I don't think you're a good fit for the success circle right now because you said you'd beat the call, you didn't make it. That's fine. But generally speaking, if you say you're going to be somewhere and you don't show up, you're not going to get results. It reflects poorly on us. I just tell them, no, I'm not mad at you. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying that I can't take your money and enroll you in this thing because of the behavior that you've exhibited. So give them a chance to change their behavior and become a good fit. Right? Those 3 campaigns will make you more money, but they'll also give you, if you keep them in your back pocket, they give you control. So you ever have like a good month and then a bad month and then a bad month and a good month, and you feel like some are good, some are bad, but I have no control. Like I don't have a thing where I can just reliably generate some cash flow when I need it. Building out these campaigns will start to give you that. So I think we should go deep on building out a Be Helpful campaign. But first, I'll kick it back to Laurel, and then I don't know if we want to do maybe some questions because I just fire hosed everyone to the face.
Yeah. So on the Be Helpful campaign, the way that I do it is anytime that I'm helping my students in Lean on Laurel, I always loom what I'm doing. So for instance, the other day I had a student who was like, hey, I'm having issues with the problem solution exercise. And I was like, hey, how about I just do it for you? I was like, can you just give me XYZ? And she sent over XYZ. And I turned on my camera and I literally shot a video of why I was creating the content for this particular client. And then I uploaded it to YouTube. That's the way that I like doing the Be Helpful campaign, because like Nick says, it's giving you a behind the curtain peek. And then guess what happened? I had a handful of people be like, can you write my problem solution exercise if I join Lean on Laurel? And I'm like, yeah. And easy, those are like the easiest sells ever. Like anytime that I'm writing ads, anytime that I'm doing any type of work for my clients, obviously getting their permission, I literally just turn it into content. And most people, especially in my field, they don't care that it's going to be turned into content because I'm doing the work for them and they know how expensive if my done for you stuff is. So they're always more than happy to do that. But that's just kind of like the whole Be Helpful campaign. That's just kind of how I've just framed my entire content piece because of this stuff. And there's a couple of things that Nick said that's super important, right? So many people are just copycats of other people. And our audiences know this, right? There's so many people who are copying people's videos word for word. Like there's so many AI tools out there that people are just stealing other people's content. And so now people are really looking for, how can I tell that this person is really good at what they do? And that's why I like doing the Be Helpful campaign, because I use it as like over the shoulder, like here's over the shoulder of me, what I do for my clients. And I just pull back the curtain and give away the farm. Because even when they're behind the curtain, they still want reassurance that, hey, am I doing this correctly?
Yeah, that's great. And I concur. All right. So let's get into like the whole taking action thing, because that's what these workshops are all about. Homework. And this homework is a suggestion. However, just know that if something comes up today or tomorrow or in the future, and there's an opportunity, or I feel a wild hair to provide additional support for somebody, I will ask you, did you do your homework? And if you didn't, you're not getting the support. Right? Second chance campaign. I'm telling you ahead of time so you don't have to do it later. But generally, I would actually hold that as a second chance campaign. All right. So homework, strong suggestion. One, go, whether it's DM, however, wherever you're doing your conversations, email, DM, whatever, think about writing out the 9-word email. And if you want to take it a step further, think about phrasing it in a way where they will respond with a version of no. So have you given up on? Have you given up on selling your house? Have you given up on building your business? Have you given up on losing that weight? Have you given up on setting up your ads? Whatever it is, just write it out. And if you want to deploy it, if you're one of those quick starts like me or Laurel, go back through your messenger conversations or wherever and just send it out to a handful of people that the conversation has died. I mean, like, I would send it to probably 100, but do 10, 15, 20. Just so you can feel what it's like and you can start getting these responses, and you're not taking our word for what's going to happen. You need to get your own data. If and when somebody does respond, I encourage you to start thinking about the silver bullet. What are the 5 questions I would send them? And if you're feeling brave, send it to them. And then when they answer them, loom over it or type it back, answer their questions. Okay. If nothing else, this is a really powerful step. Have you given up on thing that you opted in for? Right. And most people will have a value bomb. So this should be whatever outcome the value bomb is supposed to deliver. That's what you would ask them. Have you given up on outcome promised by the value bomb? Anyone that identifies as successful, motivated, or a winner is going to respond. To Laurel's point, you can't see that and not respond if you identify as someone that gets shit done. Right. And that's kind of the people that are usually make the best clients. All right. Then second, and we'll spend more time here, is a Be Helpful campaign. So what you're going to do, or what I recommend that you do, is you look at your list of natural deadlines and you pick one in the future The way I do it, because I'm less linear, is I go by feel. I just read the deadlines. I'm like, oh, that one would be fun to talk about. I know exactly what to say, and I'll pick that one. I don't really do it by the biggest one or the soonest one. For me, I live in a place of I communicate better when I'm excited about something, and I communicate pretty poorly when I'm not. So match this to your personality. So you look at your deadlines and you say, okay, this is the deadline I'm going to use. For a Be Helpful campaign, I will generally combine natural deadline, or sorry, an industry deadline, because there's less noise. If you do Christmas, everybody's talking about Christmas, right? But if you do Corporate Transparency Act, it really only applies to people who have entities in Wyoming, maybe Delaware. So I'm going to use an industry deadline, but if there's one that calls to you as something you really are excited about doing, then do that instead. And a personal rhythm as a second reason why. Right? Natural deadline, Laurel's birthday. That's not an industry deadline, but it's a personal deadline for Laurel. And it is an industry deadline if we consider Laurel's audience an industry, which we could. Then her birthday is an industry deadline. Personal reason is because of my relationship with Laurel. So here's the deadline, and here's why I'm doing this. So you have deadline, everybody should understand, and then a personal reason. Because the question is always, why would you do that for me? Well, I'm not doing it for you, dummy. I'm doing it for Laurel. And our brains are actually more likely to accept that than I'm just doing it because out of the kindness of my heart. And then our brain goes, yeah, we'll see. What's the catch? So personal reason, natural deadline, personal reason. And I see the chats active. I'll read that shortly. All right. So you got your natural deadline. And we say, okay, so natural deadline is X. And I'll ask for some examples, or Laurel and I will workshop through her stuff. Here's the deadline. Now, what are the things that people need to start doing now because of that deadline? Or when do they need to start doing it? That'll be your very first campaign. So I'll pick on Victor because I've already picked on him. Do you have a listen? You can either unmute yourself, or I don't know if you can unmute yourself, or drop it in the chat. Pick a industry rhythm that you think you could build a natural campaign, a Be Helpful campaign around.
An industry rhythm. So I would industry like contractors, right? Winter, summer ending, winter coming.
Okay, so winter's coming. You could do all kinds of Game of Thrones shit too, you know?
Yeah.
Winter's coming. You can use Game of Thrones. That's a pre-wired idea. Anytime you can use a meme or a pre-wired idea, it'll make your marketing more powerful. So because winter's coming, what are things that contractors should be doing, but they generally either don't know about it or they don't start it soon enough, and then they're up against they got a gun to their head and they're rushing to get shit done.
Yeah, so August, September, by that point they should have already been marketing for their transitions of what's, like, some people, for example, landscapers transition into maintenance. People that do roofs and stuff like that will transition into like holiday lights. So they should have been already promoting that stuff as this before the season changes.
So could you take, as an example, could you amalgamate some of Laurel's concepts with that natural deadline? So winter's coming. I'm just reminding you, because a lot of times contractors have to shift their advertising to maintenance or whatever. And generally speaking, when you have new messaging, I want my clients to have an unfair advantage by getting 90 days of data before it's like SOS.
Mm-hmm.
So my clients that are contractors, we started building this last week so that when December rolls, we have 90 days of data and we could greatly outpace the competitors that are just now starting to collect the data.
Mm-hmm.
So just a reminder that if you're going to change your offer, if you're going to change your ads, if you're going to change your deliverable for the winter months, start collecting the data now. Collect pixel data, video view data, email data specifically for the new offer ahead of time. So I hope you find that useful. I know that our clients, our premium clients, are going to have an unfair advantage in doing so. And if you don't know how to do that for some reason, just let me know. That make sense?
Oh yeah.
So we're also pre-framing the 90 days to data, which will make them better clients.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say things. I'm going to go a little advanced. You can say things like, so if you already have an ads manager, awesome. Just forward this to them. I just want to make sure so we're very clearly saying like, look, I'm not hard selling. If you have an ads manager, tell them this. They'll know what to do. And then there's a very high probability that they go tell their ads manager and their ads manager looks dumb. Right? They're like, well, I don't know what do you mean 90 days to data? Well, now they're doubting their current provider. And they got to come back to you because people hate sitting in uncertainty. So now they got to come to you. So that's a be helpful campaign. Really simple. And then you can run that for every deadline. You just do something similar. And for anybody that does advertising in particular, you can always piggyback off of Laurel's 90 days to data. It's a good reason you could run a campaign 90 days before any natural deadline using that. Say, look, we like 90 days to data. Today is 90 days before New Year's. Today is 90 days before tax season. Today is 90 days before election, whatever. And so my premium clients, we set everything up to collect all the data for the next 90 days. So you better pray to God you're not competing. You better hope that my clients are not your competition because you're going to lose. Or you can keep up. Here's how. Tell them what to do. They won't know how to do it, which is why they'll respond to you and ask you to do it for them. And we've explained why they need to start now. And that's the Be Helpful campaign. And some number of people will not come back to you because they can't afford you or they're embarrassed or whatever. But they're highly likely to refer to you because you made them look and sound smart. And when people look and sound smart, they can't help but tell everybody about it. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. How else can we bring this? So I'll answer this question and then we'll kick it back to Laurel and Laurel, you can kind of lead how we workshop through stuff. I like to plant seeds of doubt. And I have enough. Keep this in mind because this is all system that works together. I have an unreasonable belief in my ability to figure things out. And if you don't have that, you can't operate like I do. And I'm wrong sometimes, and I live with it. So I want to plant seeds of doubt for everyone. Everyone. Doubt Victor, doubt Laurel, doubt Joe, doubt me. And when I plant those seeds of doubt and they start looking, I'm banking on them still deciding that I'm the best option for them. So if you're not willing to plant seeds of doubt for yourself, if you're not willing for people to doubt you and to prove them wrong, then don't plant a lot of seeds of doubt. Because every time you're teaching them, you should question providers. You got to remember, you're a provider. So smart people will go, wait a minute, doesn't this apply to you too? So planting seeds of doubt. If you know your industry really well, I just speak to the industry. You're only one funnel away. Okay, well, I can give you a gazillion examples where you made a funnel and you didn't get rich. And so that's planting a seed of doubt. It's just knowing what your industry does, knowing how they're full of shit, and then calling it out. And if there are things that nobody is talking about, but they're important, then all you have to do is say, hey, look, a lot of people don't know this. Some people do. You probably know this because you're smart, but XYZ. You need first party data, first party data tracking. And if you have an ads manager, they'll know how to set that up. So I just say, here's a thing that I already know your ads manager doesn't know, but I'm telling you they should know it. So go ask them. And then you discover on your own they're idiots. I don't tell you they're idiots. So it's just really understanding and having empathy for the client or the prospect and kind of leading them down the trail to ask the questions. And you should know that there are things that your industry does that drive you nuts. And you see your competitor say this and you're like, that is not true. Stop saying that to people. It's dangerous. Those are all things you can plant doubts. But for me, the easiest way is just say, make a list of the things you know that other coaches and consultants don't know, and then pretend like you think they do know. It's like, yeah, it's cool. You can run a Be Helpful campaign where you do this, 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 and this. It doesn't matter what platform you run it on, but you have a marketing coach. Go ask him. He'll know. And then when you go ask him, he's like, what? Well, that was a seed of doubt. I was confident in your coach. He's not even confident in himself. People realize that. So if you combine just natural deadlines, campaigns, personal reasons, and then work in seeds of doubt, but that takes practice. It takes a lot of practice because you don't want to throw stones at people. You don't want to say your coach is an idiot. You say, well, you got a coach, right? Yeah. Is he good? Is she good? Yeah. That's why I pay her. Okay. Then they should know this. So go bring it to them and they'll walk you all through it. And then obviously they go there and the coach is like, well, I don't fucking know what that is. Like, okay. So Nick was confident in you. I was confident in you, but you don't know what the fuck's going on. So maybe both of our confidence is misplaced. So that's how we discredit other people. Laurel, take it away. Let's see. We got some hands raised, so let's workshop.
Yeah. So if you guys want to raise your hand, I know some of you guys are doing it in chat. That's fine. We're gonna try to get through as many people in the next 20 minutes or so as possible. If you're LOL or Success Circle, obviously you always get front of the line. But yeah, everyone just raise your hand either in the chat or in here, and we'll just go in the order that we got it. So Mernalini was up to raise her hand first. So which campaign do you want us to workshop with?
The Silver Bullet campaign.
Okay, cool.
So my birthday is around the corner, October 16th. And my process is basically, so right now I did a workshop on networking with senior leaders. And I already have the material. Maybe I could start with that as a lead magnet.
Okay. What problem is it solving?
It's helping them connect with senior leaders so that they get extra support instead of just relying on their boss to get promoted.
So could you say, so the outcome is increasing the probability of getting a promotion?
Yeah.
Okay. So first, and this is a potentially aggressive stance. You do the lead magnet, just like Laurel taught you how to do a value bomb. None of that changes.
Yeah.
Have the conversations just like you've been taught to have conversations. I would say 24 to 48 hours after a conversation dies, it's not still ongoing, or even if it's just a conversation going back and forth about random ass stuff, drop in, hey, have you given up on, you could say, have you given up on getting that promotion? Or have you given up on some other way of saying like rising through the ranks or something like that? And that's it. Have you given up on this? It's the very first step.
Okay.
Look for the love letter. Well, they're brain dump, and you're going to get a lot of those, I'm sure, of like, here's 43 paragraphs as to why I'm frustrated.
Mhm.
If you get a brain dump, then I would say, in this case, I hear you. That's a really long message, and I don't even know how to address it all, but here's what I'll do. Because my book is launching on October 16th, I will find time before that happens as a goodwill gesture. And it's okay to just tell people is goodwill.
Mhm.
I will send you 5 questions, especially after a love letter. You say, this is a lot. This is too much for me to respond to. I will send you 5 questions. If you answer those 5 questions, it'll take you 5 minutes. I will send back a response to answer them all and give you the next steps so that you're one step closer to getting that promotion.
Mhm.
And then you send them the questions. And I don't think the questions are that important in the beginning. I think they're more of a really easy to overthink.
Mhm.
So I would honestly just do that much. Because if you get somebody to say, answer 5 questions after this dialogue, they are this close to buying. I wouldn't overcomplicate it.
Mhm.
Does all that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. What is the number one thing that, if you could just clip out, somebody asks you a question or you've spoken on stage or you've done Zoom, if you could just clip out one thing and you were like, man, if everybody heard this,
Mhm.
they would buy from me. Do you know what that is? That's okay.
Yeah, I
Find out
mean,
what,
yeah. So it's just, how to be friends with leaders, basically. Like how to be in their good books, how can you accelerate their career just being around leaders.
okay. So you want to ask a question.
Mhm.
In those 5 questions, you want to ask a question that cues you up to talk about how to be around leaders and how to get the most out of it.
Okay.
Okay. So you might say, who do you spend the most time with? Do you get a high level of exposure, proximity, access to leaders? And they might say, I don't even know what makes a good leader, in which case you're in a position to really just kind of free flows, stream of conscious, describe your definition of leadership. And that will be like, whoa, that's a powerful perspective. They may say, no, I don't spend any time with leaders. They may say, yes, I spend a lot of time with leaders. And you may know through all your conversations, I'm just using examples here, that they're not spending time with leaders. They're just spending time with their friends. And they just don't realize that their friends are not good leaders.
Mm.
So in any of those scenarios, you're putting yourself in a position to break their brains
Mm.
in a very non-aggressive, intrusive way.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep, it does.
Cool. Fire it out there.
Yeah,
Put it together, fire it
I-
out. Let us know.
okay, will do. Thank you.
Yeah, Amanda and Emmanuel, who are madly in love all the time.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Always.
Stop that shit.
Always. Don't be jealous, Nick.
I'm not jealous. I just don't like I don't like when people are happy,
You should be happy. Smile.
All right. So I want to try out the Be Helpful campaign.
Okay.
So
Deadline?
the deadline is New Year's, which is just over 3 months from now.
All right. What
Yep. So
same question. Yep.
Yep. Hey, I just wanted to remind you that 2025 is coming up in just over 3 months. This week, I'm starting to help my premium clients prepare by boosting productivity by 40%, because if we don't start now, we risk being stuck in the same boat as other coaches struggling to achieve their time and location freedom.
Okay. So that's got you're almost there. Now, the Be Helpful campaign, what makes it nuanced is that it's not, it's, in my opinion, it's good marketing, but it's not shitty marketing, which is, okay. So New Year's is right around the corner. And I would say when I'm doing my premium clients, is helping them prepare because, and I would be more specific around, if you don't have these habits down before Christmas comes, you're not going to develop these habits in the middle of Christmas and New Year's and all that stuff. You know, like a little more specific as to, okay, this won't work and here's why. And because we want to give them a chance to go, shit, I never thought about that. So we used to use New Year's as a deadline for nutrition. And we would say, we know you want to start on New Year's, but here's the thing. You need to start now because most people will wait till New Year's because they don't want to be on a diet throughout the holidays. Which means if that's your perspective and you start on January 1st, best case scenario, it's only going to last a year because you've already forfeited that holidays I'm going to shit. So if you want something sustainable, what we do with all our clients is we start preparing them so that they don't fall off the wagon every holiday, but they know how to navigate it and stay on the wagon. Right. And we do that by doing X, Y, Z. And so that's what's missing is a little more specificity as to why it's important now. You said other coaches are falling behind. Just give them some very simple reasons why other coaches are falling behind. So they go, shit, I didn't think about that. But yeah, that's pretty obvious.
So if I may, so while other coaches are focusing on self-development on the first quarter of the year, you're already ahead because you're producing a lot more and you're ahead of the game.
Yeah. And you could speak to, and this is advanced, but you speak to, if I can get somebody to go, if I can say, so what most people do is this, which is why they end up behind. And the person goes, oh shit, I was about to do that. Thank God you said something. So that's kind of like most people, maybe they're going to wait until this time to start, but here's why that doesn't work. So they then go, shit, I was going to do that too. But now I know why I shouldn't do that. And then we say, we help our clients prepare. And here are the 3 to 5 things that they're all doing right now. 1, 2, 1 because this, 2 because this, 3 because this. Now, how to do that is what they're going to come back to you for. But tell them. So it really does, like, if you already know how to do this, here. Because they're not going to value what you do that much anyway, because they already know how to do it. So you're just saying, hey, look, start here. That gives you this kind of runway so that now when everybody else starts, you've already built up, you know, your critical mass or your speed or your momentum. And here's why everybody's going to wait, which is silly. So our premium clients, we have them all doing X, Y, and Z. So hopefully this is helpful. And I recommend, or we recommend, you start doing X, Y, and Z like right now, and you'll be so far ahead of the curve. If you have any questions, let us know. The only natural reaction a human can have if they're serious is, shit, can you help me with this? Like right now? But it was totally their idea. So just a little more specificity, a little bit more behind the curtain. Yeah, give that a go.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mr. Perry, I think you had your hand up in the chat next.
Thank you, Laurel. Nick, I think that this could be a silver bullet or be helpful, but I'm leaning towards be helpful. The offer is called Close the Gap. It's a business accelerator for solopreneurs to identify a priority and the path and close the gap using weekly arena style calls. And so my 9-word email is, have you given up on identifying your last priority for the last quarter of 2024?
I would try to find, if I was going to do that, I would try to find a way first to get them to tell me what that priority was. Have you given up on sending your kids to college? Right? Have you given up on starting that 401k? Have you given up on increasing your sales? Because if you just say that number one part, it feels like an automated response.
Okay.
right? It
So
feels
make
like a
it more of a
template.
silver bullet at the beginning.
Yeah. If you want to go that route, because no, I haven't given up on sending my kids to college. Right. It's a more visceral than, no, I haven't given up on insert priority here, you know? So yeah, before that, I would try to get them to declare what their number one priority. I would silver bullet it actually,
Okay.
because through that, one of the questions is, do you know how to? You might say, what's your number one priority for? And they say, I don't know how to prioritize. And there's a whole. So I would actually want, if they say, I don't know how to prioritize, I don't know how to identify a constraint. Me personally, I would want to riff on that and tell them, like, you don't know how to prioritize and you're putting all this work every day into what? Going the giant circle? So your number one priority should be figuring out what the hell your priorities are. Your number one constraint is not knowing how to identify your constraint. So I would personally try to cue that up. And you and I are very similar.
Okay.
I think that's the biggest, that's the thing that can shake someone in a way that, like, once you see it, you can't unsee it. So I would run a silver bullet if you want to take that angle.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because I can always weave it into a be helpful once I get some
Yes.
responses.
That's
Okay.
exactly what I was going to say, is based on your responses, craft a be helpful campaign. And you can straight up say, I did this silver bullet. I don't call it a silver bullet, but I did this, and I did what I said I would do. I responded to a bunch of people, and I realized that, you know, XYZ, and then you have your be helpful campaign queued up already. And if you've archived your silver bullet responses, you can even link to them like Laurel does on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
You say, hey, look, I just did this. Here's all the replays. So people can watch you in your zone of competence. So yeah, I would do a silver bullet followed up with a be helpful. And I only recommend that to you because I know you've already done them both. So you have enough practice.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
super helpful. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Nick, do you have time for two more?
I'm here for it.
Yep,
I'm
we've
here
got
for it.
Emily, and we'll end things with Christina.
Hello. Sorry, can you hear me? And see me?
Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
Okay. So, my name's Emily. I'm quite new to this community, but thank you. That's all been brilliant. So, I have a deadline of 2 days. I'm currently in the middle of a master boot camp with a core group of people, but I'm thinking of running a flash workshop to my entire membership in the next 2 days. 48-hour deadline. I think I'll get good engagement on this. The topic is how to manage overwhelm in order to maximize your drawing habit. Okay, I teach retired people to draw. So I have I have quite a large community that draw together. My aim is to get them into a drawing coaching academy. So I want to know if I can do a silver bullet. So I would start with this masterclass, and then I would set my question: have you given into overwhelm? I guess that would be my question. And then I wondered whether do I maintain that 5-question approach in a sequence of emails, or can I set up the one-to-ones and ask them the 5 questions? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. You can absolutely set up one-on-ones. It's just going to be more time consuming.
Okay.
Yeah. So if in a perfect world, I would do, I mean, if I had unlimited time and resources and I could clothe myself, that's what I would do. The other thing you could consider is, and we're not doing it here, but we could have had, for example, we could have sent you all 5 questions before this workshop and run through them all with everybody watching. Right. That would be like a variation of the silver bullet where we said, hey, before you come to the workshop tomorrow, answer these 5 questions. And then when you show up, we could just answer them all and everybody would be watching. And it would be a middle ground between like one-on-one workshop and silver bullet. So you can always, I'm just demonstrating that you can tweak these things. But if you can justify the time and the price of the thing on the other end, I would 100% generally speaking, the silver bullet, these campaigns are run because you have failed to get them on a phone call up to this point, or you already had a phone call and they haven't purchased. Right. Now
I think I'm pre-stage, sorry to interrupt, where I have no idea because I've never really upsold to anyone before. They're just kind of in a membership, and every time I sell lots. So I've never done anything as focused as this. So it's just understanding, like, what do I try? How do I try it? What's the step-by-step approach to take?
What's the price point of what you're selling?
£1,595.
Okay. I personally, I would talk to them all one-on-one.
Okay.
And anybody that refuses to talk to you or does not buy after you talk, then I would kick off the campaign.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
If you can just get on the phone and sell them a $1,500 thing, just do that. No, you don't overcomplicate stuff. But then everybody that doesn't buy, or everybody that you can't get on the phone, then you reach out and say, hey, have you given in to overwhelm?
Okay.
And then you kick off the whole process. But fastest path to cash.
Yeah.
Always going to be one-on-one conversations.
Okay, but otherwise I just, if I didn't do the one-to-ones, I would just do like that five kind of tennis emails, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And Laurel,
Brilliant.
Laurel can probably share tomorrow or later on. Laurel does it really well. So I'm gonna say, I want to come in and lean on Laurel. She's like, cool. Here's a Loom video. And then people buy. And that's, she can only do that though, because she's had so many one-on-one conversations over the last 5 years. So I wouldn't skip that part. I would have one-on-one conversations until you just can't anymore.
Okay. Well, let's do that then. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, which by the way, and I tell all of my students this, like I still have one-on-one conversations all the time. Like I still, that's one of the things that I have not stopped having, because industries change, right? There's so many changes that have happened between, now and 6 years ago. And so that's just one of the things, and that's just a personal preference of mine, is like, I just like having a temperature on all of you guys, just to be, in constant aware of all of the problems that you guys go through. And so that's why I think this campaign for me, these 6 that we're learning here, has been so powerful, is because I know you guys so well, because having conversations with you guys is like number 1 priority. Because I know a lot of times people are like, I can't wait to not have to have conversations all the time. I don't understand why people like to give that part of it up, because that's where I think most of the gold is. Christina.
Hi everyone. Hi Laurel. Hey Nick. Yeah, so happy that I can pop up with my totally different topic here. So yeah, I'm a chemistry tutor. I'm tutoring high schoolers in AP chemistry and IB chemistries. My ideal client is those who want to go into medicine or get into the pre-med, and everything is so competitive nowadays, so they need those top grades. So I have a program and I'm helping them very well with that program. I'm teaching for 28 years. So now I like to have sales calls. I don't have a problem. I'm only very bad in the DMs. So, but I'm getting better now. I see that it's working a little bit better. So thanks to this program. So my problem is now I have some people who have not, I have like sales calls, but they said they will get back to me, but they didn't. And now I want to get them back because there is a deadline. The school year is short and they have to get now until end of October. I have to get them on board. Otherwise, it's just too short to work with them to such a goal like the A and the 4 and the 5 in AP chemistry. So it's just too much to learn. So I'm thinking of running one of these silver bullets to these people to ask them and see who is getting back. And then I don't know, I'm a little bit confused. This Be Helpful campaign is inviting them to my program or to like a little workshop or something to get the taste of my working. And I don't know, because some of them might be already failing some tests and they might be saying, okay, I'm going to join the program. I'm going to discuss with you about the program at least again and join the program, or I should invite them to a little workshop. I don't know exactly what's the point here to the Be Helpful.
So this is where and I'm going to go the long route here, so I apologize if you guys are in a rush, but I think it's a really important thing to understand is, for some reason, when people get into business, they like put on this logical hat that is wrong. meaning people like we just forget how people buy. You know how many people are like, nobody will buy your book because it's got typos. And it's like, well, the only way you would know it had typos is if you bought it. So you bought it. And so we're like, there's a disconnect between how we think the world works and how it actually works. So if you observe yourself as a consumer, it could be helpful where you go, how do people actually buy stuff? Because it's not what you think, and it's not, you don't buy the way you think you buy. Nobody does. And so the realization is that most of the things you buy that you are happy that you bought, it was not really your idea, but you think it was. So for a Be Helpful campaign, generally speaking, I don't push them to anything. You can, if you already have a workshop set up, like we have this one. I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to set up a workshop. All we're doing is we're saying, hey, look, if you don't start now, like now, like this week, then this, and you see how you're going to end up behind and rushing and making mistakes. If you need help, just let me know. And that's it. I wouldn't decide where I'm going to push them until they've responded back to me. Because if we push them to a workshop, that might be a $20,000 buyer. And we just push them to a $100 workshop without talking to them.
Yes, exactly.
All we want them to do is raise their hand by saying, hey, this makes sense. I don't know how to do it. Well, you want to hop on a call? Or you want me to send you 5 questions? Right. So once they respond, then you can decide, you want to talk to them? You want to run a silver bullet? How do you want to do it? Right? But the whole point of this is to get them to realize, shit, I have to do something now. They're going to pull up Google. They're going to, and they're going to go, there's conflicting information. And because this is what we all do. Think about your own buy. If I say, hey, look, here's this thing you've never heard of, what do? You go to Google, you ask ChatGPT and you try to make sense of it. And then when you can't make sense of it, you come back and you say, hey, you said this and I couldn't find anything about it. And that whole process taught you that you're not going to learn this without me. But I didn't tell you that. So does that make sense? Where we really just want to say, look, we got to start now for all these reasons. And when you list all those reasons, you're showing them, these are all the things I know that nobody else knows. Nobody else is talking about it. And the right people, you could say, hey, if you need help with any of this, reply to this email, text this number, send smoke signals, send carrier pigeon, whatever you want to do. We're just getting the people to go, yeah, I do need help with this now that I understand the timeline. Once they say I do need help, for me anyway, I would zoom out and I would say, okay, if I had 1,000 people respond and say, yeah, I need help with this, I might build a workshop because there's 1,000 fucking people. But if there's 2 people, I'm not setting up a workshop for 2 people. I'm just going to talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
So see how it's kind of like you got a micro step to figure out what makes the most sense. The very first step is teach them something that they hadn't thought about using a natural deadline and get them to go, yeah, I need help with this. How you help them, that is your diagnostic capacity should just discern how you help them.
Yeah. So do you recommend to send this Be Helpful campaign, like make a Facebook post, send it via email, maybe record like a little video, like a real video, and then ask them to comment and see what response I'm getting and then follow up like this?
Yep. Because economically, we got to make sense of it. So why do we do workshops? Because Laurel sells 100 tickets every single time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like having sales call. I don't have a problem, especially since I learned your system and it's not sales call. Man, it was ridiculous with all the pushy things. Man, I was feeling so ridiculous, but now I'm just being present and I'm selling so much more. So yeah, thank you so much for the case framework. So that is very helpful for me.
Awesome. Yeah. So fire out a Be Helpful campaign. And then again, if you get a large response, so it's a if-then, if you get a large response, I would do a workshop and or silver bullet. If you get a smaller response, that's okay, because they might pay a shit ton of money. Excuse my language. But if you get 3 people, like just talk to 3 people.
Yeah.
So that's the whole game, is we're just trying to figure out how to get enough data to make the best next step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, you betcha. So I'm going to answer this one question that's in chat, and it says, can this be used to upsell clients? So check this out. So now you've just watched Nick and I build a couple of campaigns, and there's some of you guys right now who are probably like, heck, I want Nick and Laurel to help me build my campaigns all of the time, and I would love to get feedback. So if you would like to get feedback from Nick and I, we've got two options. One, we've got something that's called the Arena. And then we've got something that's called the Success Circle. And if you would like to check any of those out, the very first step is actually watching the sales and marketing training that Nick and I did. It was 5 days of sales and marketing. If you go to 2024withlaurel.com and get on that email list, you will not only get the 5 days of sales and marketing training that Nick and I did on content creation, you will also learn more about how to get access to the arena, and also you might discover that you might be a great fit for Success Circle.
Yep. So,
does that answer the question if these campaigns could be used to upsell people?
Yep, same. It's the same campaign. Okay. So you have to think. There's another weird thing that happens that once we process a payment, it's like we forget everything that we learned. It's all the same. We are asking somebody to change their behavior in some way, period. So to go from your current program to upsell, if you come from this workshop to Success Circle, we're asking you to change your behavior in some way. Right? We're just asking. So every step they take, it's exactly the same. It's just the psychology is different. So when you're upselling, the more upsell, generally, you're going to go more be helpful campaign. You want to give them a look behind the curtain. You want them to know what it's like to be in the Success Circle. I'll give you an example. Laurel said, raise your hand. Success Circle members get first dibs. Somebody saw that in the chat and was like, man, that'd be nice to be a Success Circle member. It's always ongoing all the time. It's no different from prospect to client's the biggest leap. But then you got one-time buyer to repeat buyer. You can run the same exact campaigns, assuming that your back end is not just more of the same, in which case it's kind of hard to run new campaigns. But your back end is probably something different, higher level of access, more calls, events, more one-on-one, more advanced concepts. So you would just do the same thing. You could run a silver bullet, which I would only do for like really low ticket stuff. Otherwise, if they're paying clients, I probably just talk to them. But we can still be helpful campaigns where we say, hey, look, everybody in the Success Circle, because they're paying, 15, 20 grand or whatever, this is what we're doing with them. And we're letting you know so you can get started on it right now. You don't need our help. It's just a reminder to go do it. That is how I would run a Be Helpful campaign to upsell somebody from one program to a higher level program. Same thing. And the higher level, we're doing this. Here's why. So now you know, so you can start doing it too. And the right people go, well, shit, get me in the higher level. So yep, all these campaigns, you can run at every stage. The only one you can't run at every stage, you're going to learn tomorrow, because you have to have enough of a relationship with the buyer to pull this campaign off. But every other one can run every level. Now, the last thing is I encourage you all to at least write these out. But if you're brave, send a campaign. You can post it, send it. Privately is always the safest bet. If you just want to drum up the old conversations and fire these out, you have nothing to lose. They didn't buy yet. Now, Scott said, would Nick Smith be a Be Helpful campaign? Kinda. I had no intent with Nick Smith. I didn't even know what I was going to sell until like 9 days into the 12.
And then we all bought a $40,000 thing after that. Not even knowing what it was. I was just like, I don't know what it is, but I want in.
When you practice these things, because to that point, and you don't have to be there yet, but you practice them because they all have the same underlying concepts, principles, and patterns, which means as you practice them, as you become the kind of person that exhibits, this be helpful and this silver bullet, over the years, you're laying the foundation for them all to work all the time. So I can do a 12-day training. I don't even know what I'm going to sell until day 12, but it'll work because the patterns are all the same. And so you kind of, that's why I would just fire them out and practice them now. It starts to become where everything you're putting out is to be helpful communication. And all your dialogue becomes a version of the silver bullet. So you practice these skills, and then you just have this ongoing, you're always being helpful, you're never selling anything, and people keep buying shit. That's a really comfortable place to be relative to chasing people. So Scott says, 9-word email, what's a priority you don't want to give up on before 2024 ends? Not specific enough again. That's and it's also, you can't use the word priority with regular humans because people struggle. So one of the risks, Laurel does this, and I get on her about it, is we all have a shared language, and do not use that. Try not to use that shared language with prospects. They're not, you ever walked into a conversation of people that are awesome, but they're talking about like Game of Thrones and you never watched it, so you feel stupid because you can't keep up with the conversation? Rule of thumb, try not to make people feel stupid. They won't buy anything from you. It's the worst feeling anybody could ever feel, is feeling stupid. So if you send out a communication where you're like, what is the number one priority in your solvable problem? And they don't know how to answer that question, they feel stupid. That's not good. So you could say something like, what is the one thing, if you had to pick one thing that has to go right in 2024, what would it be? That is a much easier question for people struggle with prioritizing as well. But if you said, what is the one thing that has to go right for you in quarter one, what would it be? Okay, so just be careful using any language you've adopted from me or Laurel when you're talking to strangers, because we use language to shortcut things. But if you're not privy to the shortcut, you feel stupid, and people don't respond when they feel stupid, or they get angry.
Totally get it. I was actually crowdsourcing with the people that are on this call.
Yeah, well, screw those people. Yeah, but even then, if I was talking to this crowd of people, which is very smart crowd of people who share a language, I would still try to get it down to what is the one thing that needs to go right this quarter. It's an easier question to ask, or it's an easier question to answer.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The only time I intentionally make people feel stupid, which doesn't sound good, but the only time I want people to sit in uncertainty is if there's a high probability that they're paying somebody that should be able to answer the question, and I know they're going to go run to that person and ask them, and that person's probably going to get exposed. So I will only make you feel uncertain if I know you're going to go run to somebody else and they're not going to resolve that uncertainty. Otherwise, I want to make you feel smart and certain and safe all the time, because that's what people pay for. Certainty and safety.
Awesome session today, guys. So everyone here, right? Everyone here is going to go and try at least one today, right? Because if everyone goes and does at least one campaign, someone tomorrow is going to walk into this classroom with a new client. I guarantee it. If everyone does the homework, there's going to be at least one person that's going to walk in tomorrow having a new client. And why shouldn't it be you?
I want to see a bunch. I want to see like 10 people with new clients. All right. So do that. Fire them off. We'll real quick preview to tomorrow. We got the Stay Focused campaign, the Perspective campaign, and the Continuance campaign. Those are going to be more tailored to existing buyers, either buying more, re-enrolling, or upgrading. Cool.
Cool. And I emailed the replay link yesterday, so make sure you check your email. If not, if something happens and you didn't get it, just let support know, support@laurelporte.com, and Suzanne will hook you up. But otherwise, do the work, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys. Thank you, Nick.
I'll see you guys tomorrow.